This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And welcome, everyone, to the Dr. Sem Yankees Show. I am Paul Semendinger, the editor-in-chief of the wonderful Yankee site Start Spreading the News. This show has been airing here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network for probably 3 or 4 or 5 years, every single Saturday morning without fail at 7 a.m., from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., right before the Mac and Jack show. So let's make today a great day. How do you make your day great? It's very simple. You look for the good. Look around you, find the good, appreciate the good, and then you're going to have a great day. But every now and again, someone says, I can't find any good. And if that's the case with you, then go out and do something nice for somebody else. And then there will be good that you can see. Remember, when we give love, it comes back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. So go give some love, give some kindness, give some compassion, do good for others. And you'll be making your day and everyone else's days as well great. All right, so, hey, it's just me this week, recorded as always. In fact, as you are watching this, if you're watching it at the 7 to 7:30 slot on Saturday morning, I'm actually in my car driving to a presentation. I'm doing a presentation on one of my books, Impossible is an Illusion. I'll be in Hackettstown, New Jersey. If you go to my website, not Start Spreading the News, the other one, drpaulsem.com, if you go to that site, well, my dear friends, there's a little button on there that says appearances. I'm going to be speaking at a host of places over the next couple of months. So check it out, and maybe you have an opportunity to come see me in person. Also, a reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia is a fantastic publisher who has published many of my award-winning books, including Scattering the Ashes, From Compton to the Bronx, and The Least Among Them. Check out Artemisia Publishing because they have great, great, great books. And speaking of public appearances, come out to the Yogi Berra Museum on Sunday, March 23rd, beginning at noon, for a wonderful event hosted by the Elysian Fields chapter, which is the Northern New Jersey chapter of SABR. Yours truly is the vice president of that chapter, and we are going to have 3 great speakers talking about all sorts of great baseball subjects. One of the great speakers will be me, talking about my wonderful book, The Least Among Them. Come to the museum. I think you're going to have a great day. I'm bringing a lot of my, well, a lot might be overstating it, but I'm bringing a good amount of baseball memorabilia that I've collected over my life. I did this at our last event in Patterson a couple of weeks ago. Old scorecards and yearbooks and some pictures and other memorabilia, stuff that I have, old books, baseball books. And we set up a table, and it's all free. As I go through my collection and I find stuff that's just in boxes, I've said I don't need to keep all this stuff. I would rather other people enjoy these items. So I bring them, and hopefully the people who attend walk away with some free souvenirs. So come to the event, Yogi Berra Museum, March 23rd. So let's get down to some business here. You know, I've been critical of the Yankees often because of the fact that the Yankees haven't really seemed to be able to have a youth movement. We've been promised that many prospects are the next great player. And outside of Aaron Judge, That never really happened. Now, some people say Gary Sanchez was great, and Gary Sanchez was very good for a year or two. Some people say, well, Luis Severino was great. Well, Luis Severino was pretty good for a year or so. But the Yankees, outside of Aaron Judge, haven't been able to build a sustainable core of young players. And every year we're sold on the next ones. Oh, Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, Gleyber Torres, on and on. And the Yankees' young players disappoint year in and year out. And as I mentioned in my discussion with E.J. Fagan on the Start Spreading the News podcast, also on Roku, live Monday nights, that might be changing. In fact, Tim Cable wrote an article about this on Start Spreading the News just the other day as well. So it seems to be an idea that lots of Yankee fans are having. You know, if we walk around the diamond, the first baseman on some days during this year will probably be Ben Rice. The second baseman will be Jazz Chisholm, who is young, but he didn't come through the Yankee system. But the shortstop, Anthony Volpe, did. The third baseman looks like it'll be Oswald Peraza. He came through the system. The catcher is Austin Wells. He came through the system. If Clark Schmidt is starting, he came through the system. The left fielder will be Jason Dominguez. He came through the system. Center fielder will be Clay Bellinger or Cody Bellinger. He did not. And the right fielder will be Aaron Judge, who came through the system. And maybe the DH will be Everson Pereira. That's amazing. That's amazing that heading into 2025, the Yankees are going to have potentially that many young players starring, I hope, for them. But that word starring is the one that's going to be the one that really makes the difference here. Are they going to star? Now, they're all not going to star. I mean, it'd be ludicrous to think that every young player is going to turn out great or even very good or even somewhat good. But if the Yankees can get decent quality, 2 or 3 wins out of each of those players, or the majority of those players, well, we might be on the cusp of looking at something really, really special. This at a time when Giancarlo Stanton is injured again, when DJ LeMahieu is injured again, and maybe it's time that the Yankees, it is time, but maybe it's time that the Yankees themselves recognize this and they realize that the salaries they're paying these guys are sunk costs. And rather than just going through the same motions that we go through year after year after year, with these same players getting injured more and more and more, and having a team of lumbering, slow, plodding, unathletic anymore players, well, it might be pretty fun to watch a great young core, maybe all coming of age at the same time. And at the same time, this might just be a Yankee team that competes for the AL pennant. Now, that's by no means a sure thing. Everybody's like, well, yeah, look at the team. They're going to make it. They're great. Well, they're without Juan Soto, who's also a very young, great player. So I don't think that you can just say, well, they made it to the World Series last year. They're ready to make it again. I don't think you can say that. A lot of offense is gone. And for the Yankees to compete, a lot has to go right with this young core. And that is by no means a sure thing. But it is fun to watch. And it just might be, this just might be the dawn of something special. Now, if it's not, If it's not, this will be very frustrating because this is what the Yankees put us through year after year, every couple of years. This young core is the one. These are the players. They're the ones who are going to get it done. And then they all flame out. So let's hope they don't. Let's hope this is the start of something special. All right. The season starts in 19 days. That's very exciting. I'm not thrilled with the Yankee approach right now, and I know so many people are. I am in the minority on this one. But Austin Wells as your leadoff hitter? It's not like he's fast. It's not like he's a super duper on base machine. I don't know. He is definitely not your prototypical leadoff hitter. One of the problems with the Yankees heading into the 2025 season is they don't have a leadoff hitter. It does amaze me that when Brian Cashman builds these teams, he doesn't realize, or he ignores, or he thinks he knows baseball better than everyone else, or whatever other reason there is, that he always leaves areas of weakness every single year. And again, if the Milwaukee Brewers or the Kansas City Royals do that, well, you expect them to. They're not the Yankees. But the Yankees always go into seasons with these glaring holes. A number of years ago, they had no left-handed hitting and no left-handed starting pitching. Two things that great Yankee teams have always had. That didn't work out either. This year, they're trying to do it without a leadoff hitter, and they think Austin Wells might be the answer. I have to tell you, I don't think Austin Wells is the answer for the leadoff spot. But I am? Oh, brother. You know, Thomas Boswell wrote the book, Why Time Begins on Opening Day. Oh, and it does. It does. It just does. You can't help, or I can't help at least, to get excited about the prospects of what could be a magical season. I think Paul Goldschmidt's going to be just fine at first base. I like the starting rotation. The bullpen now has a legitimate closer. I wish there was a little more pop in the lineup. I wish there was a little more wiggle room, shall we say, like if Jason Dominguez doesn't cut it in left field, if he's a flop, I have no idea where you turn. If Anthony Volpe has another year where he doesn't hit, I mean, it's getting to the point then where you start to say, like, how many more years before this kid starts to finally fulfill the potential, the bill of goods we were sold? So you really have to hope that everything goes according to plan. If it does, it could be a very exciting season, but there's not a lot of room for error here. The Yankees did not leave themselves a lot of room for error. And that might be a big error. The other thing that happens right around this time of year is, as you know, I still play baseball, competitive baseball, not softball, baseball. And I'm a pitcher. And so for the last month and a half or so, I've been gearing up for the season. I have a little baseball gym in my basement. I have a big net and enough room to wind up and throw. And I'm happy to report that the other day, just 3 days ago, I was up to 200 pitches. That's a good workout. From the full windup, throwing the ball after warming up 200 times. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling ready. I hope Coach gives me the nod, as he has every season, to be the opening day starter. Because I could go 9 on opening day. I'm ready. I am ready, willing, and able, and fired up. There is nothing quite like standing on the pitcher's mound with your team behind you and your catcher in full gear and the umpire behind him, and knowing that the whole fate of the game depends on how well you do, how well you throw. Can you hit spots? Can you throw strikes? Can you get guys out? Now, I've proven to myself that I can. I've had a lot of success. I'm not great by any measure, though the Yankees should sign me. But I win more than I lose nowadays. And that says something for a guy who's going to turn 57 years old this summer. All I can say is I am ready and gearing up for the baseball season. In my own way, I know how all those Yankees feel because it's great. I can't wait to play, and it's going to be fun. One thing the Yankees don't necessarily do is protect their own young pitchers. A couple of years ago, Clark Schmidt, let's see, that would have been 2023, threw, well, let's just round for simple mathematics' sake, 5 gazillion innings after throwing, I don't know, let's just round for simple mathematics' sake, no innings the year before. This is hyperbole. I'm greatly exaggerating for effect, but you get the idea. The Yankees pitched Schmidt many, many more innings than made any sense. And as a result, last year he missed a lot of time because he got hurt. I was predicting that at the time. Other people said, no, just let him pitch. It's okay. They're in a pennant race. They got to win. And then they lost him for a while. And then last year, the Yankees did the same thing with Luis Gil. After pitching like no innings the year before, he pitched, I don't know, 150 or 160 innings, the equivalent in other terms of a gazillion. You can't go from 0 to a gazillion and not expect there to be problems the next year. And now Luis Gil is out till at least, they're saying, June. And I know the argument, and I want you to think of the argument. Because oftentimes the Yankees are penny wise and pound foolish. The argument is they had to rely on Gil, and the year before they had to rely on Schmidt. They had nobody else. They needed those guys to step up. And they did. But what the people who say that fail to ask, they don't ask this question. Why? Why, oh, why did the Yankees have to rely on them? Because they failed to get other pitchers who were available, like Corbin Burns. If Corbin Burns had been available, maybe the Yankees wouldn't have had to pitch Luis Gil a gazillion innings. If they hadn't traded away Jordan Montgomery in 2022, maybe they wouldn't have had to pitch Clark Schmidt a gazillion innings. You know, they try to save money on one end by not going for it all the way. The Yankees spend money. You can't say they don't. But they get to a certain point and they stop, even if the job's not done. That's what doesn't make sense. And they say, we're going to stop here. We're not going to go over this number. Okay, so you saved money on one end, but you cost yourself innings out of young pitchers who could help you by overusing them one year and them getting hurt the next. And that's not even taking into consideration what that does on a personal level to the young pitcher whose careers get upended who deal with injuries, who have to rehab, when maybe with just a little bit more of prevention, a little smarts, and say, let's not go from 0 to a gazillion innings from one year to the next, maybe, just maybe, those pitchers don't get hurt. Maybe, just maybe, Luis Gil wouldn't be hurt right now. Or Clark Schmidt wouldn't have been hurt last year. And it's not like these are kids who had a perfectly clean injury history until they were ratcheted up to a gazillion innings. That's not true. These are pitchers who already had a history of injury. And yet they still overused them, defying any sense of common sense. I think if you put Brian Cashman in a room quietly, just you and him, and Hal Steinbrenner as well, quietly, having a cup of coffee together, no recording devices, nothing on the record, no pens, just mutual honesty and trust. And you said to them, at the expense of these pitchers getting hurt, wouldn't it have been better to go out and get one more legitimate starter? No, I can't answer any questions for them. I've never met them. They've never talked to me. I wish they would. I wish they'd say to me, hey, Paul, help us run this team because you seem to have a lot of the answers that we keep messing up with year after year after year. But anyway, I would think if they're being honest, they'd say, you know what? We should have gotten Burns last year. We wouldn't have had to overtax Luis Gil. Probably shouldn't have traded Jordan Montgomery. We wouldn't have had to overtax Clark Schmidt. When Blake Snell was out there, maybe we should have grabbed him. That would have alleviated some of the stress on these young pitchers. I would hope that in moments of reflection, that the people who run the Yankees realize the mistakes they have made. The big story then, the last thing to talk about here today, as I look at my little notes here, is free agency at the end of this year, because we are going to be treated to maybe these players get traded and sign extensions, or they just stick with their current teams and sign extensions or whatever. But what a great question that the Yankees are going to have at the end of the year if Kyle Tucker and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I was going to say Vladito, but I just figured I'd say his real name, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., both become free agents. Kyle Tucker, we'll just run through some stats real quickly. Kyle Tucker is going to be playing in his age 28 season. His typical season, he hits 274, about 32 home runs, drives home about 107 runs. He walks about 71 times. His typical OPS plus is 139. That's impressive. He's also a much better defensive player, and he can play the outfield than Vlad Guerrero Jr., who this year will be playing in his age 26 season, whose OPS plus on average is 137, whose typical batting average is 288, and who averages about 32 homers and 100 RBIs a year. Walks about 69 times. Has a 500 slugging percentage year to year. Tucker's 516. I mean, these players are so similar in so many ways. They're both potentially great. They're both young. Guerrero Jr. a little younger than Tucker. But that's going to be fun to watch, to see how those two players perform, and if they both become free agents. And if the Yankees are able to get a lot of production out of these young kids, Austin Wells and Peraza and Volpe and Dominguez, well, then they can afford to go big on Kyle Tucker or Vlad Guerrero Jr. or, oh, you know it, this is the Yankee fan in me, both. Go get them both. Maybe. Let's see how the 2025 season shakes out. All right, my friends, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you always for all the support. Check us out on Start Spreading the News, the greatest, the most wonderful Yankees site there is. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Go out, give love, give kindness. And whatever you give, I promise, will come back to you in greater amounts than you ever gave. It's something that's proven true for me my entire life. And it can work for you too. But give it sincerely from the heart, not for any other reason except to build others up and because it's the right thing to do, to give kindness and compassion and love. Let's go Yankees, my friends. Have a great day. I will see you here next Saturday morning at 7 a.m.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.